Welcome travelers! Have you ever wondered what it would be like to level all the way to level 60 in WoW Classic using only common items? Yeah, me neither. But today, to celebrate WoW's 21st anniversary, I decided it's finally time to hit my very first max level in one of my all-time favorite games. I wanted this whole experiment to feel like a unique experience, so I needed to create a character that would refresh my view of classic WoW, while also not boring me to death after a dozen hours of gameplay. Since I usually play Horde, I went with High Elf Hunter, but trust me, there was a plan behind it. Hunter has the survival specialization, which in theory is supposed to make close combat fighting the class's main strength instead of range damage. Considering how unbalanced vanilla WoW was, I'm expecting this to be the worst choice I could have possibly made, which also makes it perfect for this challenge. Once I logged into the game, I checked my gear for common items and yeah, I had to throw away my pants. So for a while, you'll just have to enjoy the view of my elf's perfectly shaped ass. I started my journey in a classic way, slaughtering some cats, boars and whatever other weird creatures were wandering around. And that's when an idea struck me. Hunters can learn dual wield at level 20, which means I could carry two swords at once. Would it make any sense in combat? No clue. Would it look cool? Absolutely. I noticed that for WoW's birthday, I received a really strong buff. On one hand, it let me deal absurd amount of damage, even with terrible gear. On the other, it makes it much easier to push through those early not engaging quests and escape the starting zone. I also read that you can disable it at the Innkeeper and that the buff lasts only a week. At the time of recording this, only 2 days are left. So I'll keep it until I'm out of Darnassus. The quests in Aldrassil are just endless running back and forth between NPCs, killing tiny boars and cats, though at least there's a moment where you can climb to the top of the tree only to find some dude who got thirsty. And of course we have to climb all the way down, fetch water for him and climb back up. More quests like that, please. While clearing the spider cave, I gathered a ton of useless junk, and since gold or silver, copper, whatever, is extremely important for this challenge, I decided that the only items I'll be allowed to equip are those from quests, vendors or drops. Auction house is officially off limits. Luckily, I managed to get some kind of pants pretty quickly. So fully dressed, I was ready to continue the hunt. I cleared every available quest in Shadowglen, and I've gotta admit, it's one of my favorite starting zones right next to Treesfall Glades. Aside from the classic kill eggs of these quests, there was also mushroom and flower gathering, and in this magical forest it actually felt pleasant. There's something enchanting about this place. I also decided I wouldn't hold myself back. I wanted to turn my hunter into a true tracker, so I bought a few new abilities and started using my bow. I eventually left Shadowglen at level 6 with a grand total of not even 3 silver coins. My journey through Teldrassil began with the good old task of killing spiders, and I have to admit, shooting them with a bow made it all much easier. I reached Dolanar, picked up every single quest I could and pushed forward, hoping to get out the first real zone as fast as possible and maybe scrape together 10 silver coins to finally train one-handed swords. Aside from the usual monster slaying and collecting water from wells, I was also sent to take down a few furries. The real highlight though was visiting the underground temple filled with them. I'm not sure temple is the right word, it's more like a cave, doesn't matter. While inside, I grouped up with a beautiful druid named Alasko. For me, That's rare. I usually treat MMOs like single-player games, no social interactions whatsoever. Don't judge me. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. Faster questing and quicker progress toward the main city. But the game must have sensed that things were going too well, so it dropped an uncommon bow, which of course I can't equip. Still, free loot is free loot. Alaskor turned out to be genuinely kind and even gifted me a bag, a present that I truly appreciated, because my basic one was completely stuffed. In the end, I was the traitor. Not because my English communication skills are questionable, which they are. Honestly, I was actually closer to the city from that cave, so I lied. Goodbye, Alasko. You were a wonderful companion. In Darnassus, I sold all the junk I'd collected and finally had enough to buy the weapon training I wanted. Or not, because I completely forgot that the guy who teaches one-handed swords is in Stormwind. After thinking about it, I decided staffs are fine for now. I'd use them until I eventually make my way to Stormwind. Back in Teldrassil, I bought a new weapon, turned in a few leftover quests, and continued with the rest. On the way, I trained my staff skill, which didn't take long, thankfully. Then I returned once more and bought a new bow along with a full armor upgrade. I finally looked like a proper novice tracker. I stopped by the herbalist and helped him gather some bushes and also destroyed a few trends, or maybe shrub monsters? Shrublings? At this point I realized choosing a hunter was actually a great idea. Combat wasn't boring and switching between melee and ranged kept everything fresh. It made me genuinely excited to see how the class would feel later on. But before I could get ahead of myself, I had to defeat Ursal. Considering how the cave layout looks nearly identical to the one in the Valley of Trials, I used some parkour skills to reach him faster. Unfortunately, on my first attempt, I took way too much damage, but I did manage to kill his companion. Ursal himself died incredibly fast afterward. Eventually, I hit level 10, which means I can finally start putting points into my specialization tree. I decided to begin with monster slaying, which once maxed out gives a whopping 3% extra damage against beasts, giants and dragon skin targets. And that's it for this episode. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscription and let me know whether I should start using a pet or remain a lone hunter. See you in the next one.